Good morning, everyone, or whatever time it is where you are located. Welcome to EduProtocols in the classroom. My name is Stephanie Howe, and I'm an instructional technology coach in Pickerington, Ohio. I'm going to drop a link to the slide deck, and I'm going to also drop a link to my Twitter. So if you have questions and I don't get to them during this session, just send me a message on Twitter. That is probably the best way to reach me. And I am more than happy to talk with you more in depth about any of those questions. Again, throw your questions in the chat, but if for some reason I don't answer it or something comes up later, just send me a DM on Twitter. That is honestly probably the best way to reach me. So real quick, my name is Stephanie Howe. And again, I said I'm an instructional technology coach in Ohio. And the reason that I love EduProtocols is because of this past school year. This past school year, a lot of us experienced COVID with lockdowns, shutdowns multiple times. We were virtual in the summer, and then we were hybrid throughout the school year, and then we came back fully face-to-face. And so when my teachers were hybrid, I would go to them and I'd be like, hey, can we try out this idea I saw on Twitter? Or can we try this thing out? And they were like, Stephanie, I only see my students twice a week because of the way that our school was set up. And I was like, oh yeah, like we can't do this cool project, like we can't do all these really fun things that we did in the past just because of the time. And so then I had these books for years, and I don't know, I just kind of started to read them and open it up, and I started seeing things on Twitter, and they were called EduProtocols. And there's 3 books currently. They're working on a couple others right now. But with those 3 books, they completely changed our classroom, our school, and all of those different things, especially during that hybrid learning. And so what they are is they are 5-minute preps for teachers. So all teachers need is about 5 minutes to prep it. My teachers, when I told them that, they were so excited because some of the things that we did in the past, took days or even hours to plan, where this took 5 minutes. All they needed was a sample template that I had, and you're going to have a ton of different resources throughout the session. And another thing with that is the kids were so engaged. They were actually doing what they were supposed to be doing, and the students were learning, and they were participating, and they were talking, and it was on topic. So the engagement of the students and how quick some of these activities are is why my teachers grow to love them. So I really hope you grow to love them too. This is going to be a pretty interactive session, so I hope you're ready to participate. But the first one we're going to get into, this one's super easy. Again, 5 minutes. Prep time, maybe 1 minute. Okay. So again, prep time's about 1 minute, maybe 5 minutes, but it's called thin slides. And this is great for an entrance and exit ticket. And so what you do with thin slides is your students have to think of 1 word and 1 image, and they only get 1 slide. So again, 1 word, 1 image, 1 slide, and they get 3 minutes to create it. This activity should only take 5 minutes. The first time you do it, it might take 7 minutes. But after that, and the students learn the protocol, it's going to be kind of repetition for them. They're going to know what to do when you say thin slides, and you don't have to repeat 1 word, 1 slide, 1 image. They'll just know what that means when you do it the next time. So I'm going to, again, be throwing in a ton of different links throughout this chat. So make sure you have that chat open. Right here, we're going to collaborate together. So this link, we are going to actually collaborate together once we get there. So what you're going to do is you're going to think about, maybe you went there this summer, maybe you didn't. What would be your dream summer trip? Okay, and you're going to click that Let's Collaborate if you're on the slide deck, or you're going to click the link in the slides. Everybody has edit access. Same with your students. You would assign this in your LMS, as every single student can edit, or you could share this URL and you can go over here and change this so that everybody can edit. So I need to change it so everybody's able to edit this slide deck. Now that everybody can edit, and if you were on here before, you might need to refresh. Once everybody is in there to edit, oh, I put the wrong link in the chat. Let me fix that real quick. That one's for the next activity, so you will need that one as well. So with thin slides, you should be on this one. And again, every single student can edit. And then once they can edit, you go over the topic. So again, our topic for today is your dream summer trip. However, if you want to, you could do these fun activities to get to know your students and build that SEL, that social emotional learning, into your classroom. Now, you might use it with content. So maybe you say fractions and the kids have to go in and explain what they know about fractions. A vocab word, maybe you do it and you want to collect some other type of information. Maybe it's about the Civil War. We've done all different kinds of subjects and this works for every single subject. So what you're going to do is you're going to find a slide, and in the speaker notes, you're going to put your name. So everyone go ahead down because we are going to do this activity, and I'll be slide number 3 so that you can kind of see me work too. So right there, I put my name in the speaker notes down here below. And so what your students do is they all go to a slide, they put their name in the speaker notes. Sometimes if I do this a lot, every single slide, the students know their number. So maybe I'm always slide 3, they're always slide 6 or whatever. Students just always have their slide. So then they know where to go. So the first thing I tell the kids is go to your slide, and you might want to assign numbers. So that way, if something does happen, because they're in a collaborative deck, you know real quick who did what. There's also the revision history. So you'll be able to kind of tell that as well. Okay, so once you have your name on your slide, I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes. You are going to add to your slide a photo of your favorite, like where you want your dream summer vacation, and then one word. So one word for your dream summer vacation, and then one word. So again, I'm going to set that timer, and then we're going to begin. About 90 seconds left. Final touches to your slide. And again, you just need one word and one image. That's all you need. You can be extra if you want to, but you totally don't have to. And then once the timer goes off, all you do is you hit this present button. I also want to talk real quick though, as the teacher view. So as you were working, I was kind of playing that student view so you could see what the student is to do. But right here, this little button is amazing. It's called the grid view. You can click it and I can see everybody working in real time. So I can see that this little manatee, is on slide 7. I can see where everybody is on their slide deck. I can see if a student is on the wrong slide. And so again, I could go over and talk to a student like, hey, you're not doing the right thing, or help them, guide them in another direction, or hey, that looks great, you finished really early, why don't you add this? So then I can have those really quick discussions with some of my students using that grid view. The next thing I like to do is, as soon as that timer is over, I hit present. And the reason I do that is because you're going to have students that are not done, or they are done and then they decide that they see somebody else's example and they want to go back and edit theirs. When you hit present, it gets what was submitted at that 3-minute mark. And so I like to do that the first time, especially because once that 3 minutes is over, any student that didn't work for those 3 minutes and then decides to work while another student is talking, their screen is blank. And then we have that conversation about, well, I gave you 3 minutes. I expect you to work those whole 3 minutes. So next time, do better, just kind of keep working and do better. And then we just kind of talk, but then I just say, well, what would have been your one word and one image? And so they still have a chance to participate, but they know next time we do this, because we're going to do it again, that I'm serious when it comes down to those 3-minute marks. They know to get their stuff in. And so once the 3 minutes is over, students present for about 4 seconds. So again, you want to wrap this up in 5 minutes, 3 minutes to create, and then about 2 minutes to quickly present. So students just say, I want to go to Italy to explore. Then you just kind of go through the slides. And again, you click through really quickly and the students just say their 4-second, whatever they want to say during that moment. Okay. So again, you use those arrows and you just quickly go through. So that time, it should be done in a 5-minute period. And again, feel free to throw any questions into the chat if you have any questions. Also, you can see here, like some changed their backgrounds. Some people did not change their backgrounds, and you're going to have that in your classroom. So again, some students are going to change their backgrounds. Other students are going to keep it pretty simple. And so as you do these as well, they might get more and more creative. So you can have them get as creative as you want, or you can just kind of leave it up to them. Also, some teachers, instead of one word, they'll do one sentence or one quote or one something else. So don't think that you have to stick to there. There are so many different variations to thin slides, but keep it simple. One something, one image, one slide, or even maybe one word, one GIF, one slide. Whatever you want to do, just keep it simple. So it is that 1-1-1. But that is thin slides. And then in the chat, I'm going to throw a blank template in there for you. This template, you are totally welcome to use it and make a copy of this template, but it just has the directions. So they claim their slide, they design their one slide, one word, one image. They put their name in the speaker notes. They're reminded to not mess with anybody else's slide. And then they get 5 minutes to share their slide. And then they get 3 minutes to create their slide. Again, you can kind of change that 3 minutes, but I know a lot of my teachers, they want quick. So whatever you kind of decide, you can decide that. And then I've also added a fun little timer for you. I know Bitmoji classrooms were really popular at the beginning of like this school year and at the end of last school year. So I am addicted to creating my own timers. So I put in a link if you're interested to know how, but I usually can never find like timers that I'm looking for. So I've kind of gone ahead and made some of my own. So feel free to use mine, or you can create your own, and they're really easy to make. So again, every single student gets one slide, one image, one word, and that's thin slides. The next one we're going to do is sketch and tell. So with sketch and tell, this one is they're going to draw and then they're going to explain what they drew. So here is the recipe card. You've got one source. So students are either reading an article, watching a video, or maybe you were giving direct instruction, or they're learning something. So it's usually one source. They get one slide or one piece of paper. This does not have to be done digitally. Once they have that one slide or paper, they then draw. So they're going to explain what they're learning by drawing, and then they're going to explain it by writing. So again, they're going to draw it, and then they're going to write what they did. And so again, we're going to do this digitally today, and it's going to be collaborative. So I'm going to throw that link into the chat. It was the first link that I accidentally clicked. And so what you're going to do is, again, you're going to find a blank slide. Once you find that blank slide, you're going to put your name in that speaker notes. So I'm going to be slide 4. And then everybody else just kind of find your own slide. Again, if I was with kids, I would tell them which slide they are. You cannot add JPEGs. You have to use the shape tools or auto draw to explain your dream classroom. So again, you cannot use a JPEG of your original, your favorite classroom. You must draw it using the shape tools or auto draw. Okay. Sometimes I do a 5 to 10 minute timer for both of these activities. Sometimes I scaffold it and say, okay, you get 5 minutes to sketch, 5 minutes to tell. It just depends on my students and kind of what they need for the day. So today I think we'll do 5 minutes for both, just because we want to get through a couple other examples. So we're going to do about a 5-minute timer to create and tell about your dream classroom. Okay. So again, get creative and get thinking about what you want to see in that dream classroom. Right, and the timer has started. so just for those that need it, a 2-minute mark, if you haven't written your tell, this would be a great time to do that. And so again, I like to give those students those different reminders throughout while they're working in real time. About 30 seconds. All right, and time is up. And so again, I would hit that present button as soon as that time was up. And then my students would have about 4 to 5 seconds to explain whatever they did. And so I might just tell them, okay, pick out one thing from your sketch and tell that you want to tell the class about. And so like for me, this little box is like a makerspace room because I think that is just fun to do. And I love design thinking. And then I just kind of told like, I want a U shape because I love small group. I want this stand-up table for like bar seats or some type of stand-up table. And then like, this would be like an interactive table. And then again, you just go through and then everybody would quickly share one thing that they really would want in their classroom or whatever the topic is. And then you're done. And again, pretty quickly. So this activity shouldn't take long at all again. Again, you can play other ways. So one way I was listening to a podcast, it's with Eric Geis and Nick, and they it's got Ed Tech, and they were talking about sketch and tell on their podcast. And Eric is very much so a gamified educator. He loves games. And so he was saying on one side, because he was thinking non-digital, which is okay. So on one side of the paper, students would draw out whatever they're sketching, whatever they're learning. And then the game is they would do like a think, pair, share and change the papers. And then on the back, the student would have like 30 seconds to look at the sketch. And then on the back, they would have to quickly explain and tell exactly what happened. And he teaches science. So that would be great for like step-by-step processes of a lab or something like that. So that could be a really good alternative. Another idea I've seen is Adam Moeller. He's on Twitter. He is amazing. He's an educator from Ohio. He does sketch and tell with Oreos, Play-Doh, anything that the kids can get their hands on, he uses. So you've got like all these fun little things explaining the government using gummy bears or whatever he has at his fingertips. So that could be another way. And then the students just take a screenshot using their Chromebook or their computer, and then they can add that image right into their Google slide. And so then you can do that gallery walk type of activity for students to see other options or other ways that other students explain their work. Okay, so everybody's way is going to be different. And again, it's just a fun way to add that into your classroom. There is a template if you want just a blank template to use this in your classroom. Again, it doesn't have to be on a template. You can just use a piece of paper. But here is the template. If you are interested, it is on slide number 9. I'm going to throw that into the chat for you as well. And on slide number 9, this is it. So this is created by Amanda Sandervalt, who is an amazing educator. And again, the kids sketch and then they draw. Or you can use a template just like we did, where it's kind of basic if you don't want all of the like scratchy paper. Totally up to you and what you and your students need for your classroom. So that's Sketch and Tell. All right, let's keep on rolling. Number Mania. Okay, so this one we are going to play a little bit differently than we would in class just because of time. So first thing that you're going to do is I'm going to throw in a link into the chat. And again, we're all going to be on the same slide deck. And I know some of you are like, I don't trust my students to be on the same slide deck. You just have to set those expectations and procedures. And if something happens, just remind them and re-go over and explain that undo button. So again, every single student will have edit access. So I need to go in and I'm going to update that to editor. And then I hit done and I share that link. Again, everybody's going to find a slide, and this is kind of created by Ryan O'Donnell and Ditch That Textbook. So they've kind of made the template for us, and I'm going to explain why it's really nice to have that template. I'm going to be slide 2 again. So if you guys want to go ahead and find a slide, that would be amazing. And what we're going to do with Number Mania today is we're going to do facts about you. But before we do that, I'm going to explain some things. So real quick, Number Mania, how it's normally done is it's a research project, and it's done together as a class. And so what the students do is every single student in your class is responsible for one fact, which has a number, and it goes on a Google form. And so first thing that happens is on here, students complete a Google form. We're not going to do this step today, okay? Just because of time and mostly. That's the reason. And again, you don't have to. You could skip just to the infographic part if you wanted to. But I love using Number Mania for research because I hated research when I was a teacher. And so what your students are going to do is they put their name in, they put their number, they describe their number, and then they add a link to where that number came from. So that way they're citing their sources. So again, every single student in your class has to do this. They put their name, their number, their description, and then they put their source. Once they have all of that information in this Google form, they hit submit. I usually like to add a timer onto the form because I think timers really help my classroom management. And so I would just go over to YouTube. Again, I have a whole playlist of different timers, and sometimes you might do 15 minutes. Maybe I just want to do, I'm going to use this 6-minute one for this activity. Maybe it went away. But again, like you can go in and you can kind of decide how much time you want to give your students for this activity. I think they only need about 6 minutes to find a fact because it should be pretty quick. And I'm going to provide them the links that they need to use as their sources. So to add a video, I just go to this link, add video, and then I just put that link in. And again, my students would just hit play on that 6-minute clock, and then they find their fact. Once that timer goes up, they need to put in whatever fact they have. Then the next step is you share this Google Sheet, and I get that Google Sheet from the Google form by clicking this button. And then I copy the link and I go to the share button. And once I click share, I then change this so anybody with the link or anyone in your school's domain can view the data, not edit, but can view. So right now it says edit. I need to go in and change this to view because I messed up on that. And so that way they can view all of the research that was done with that activity. So again, I'm doing viewer, I'm clicking done. They're going to see everybody come in. I hide these 2 columns. So I just go in and I hide them. So that, because they don't need to know who or what, but I might need to know that information. So I hide them because my students don't need to know. And then I come up here and I text wrap this. So that way they can kind of see all the numbers, all the descriptions, and then I make these a little bit bigger. And then my students get to work and they grab these numbers to create their infographic. So again, back on our recipe slide, My students, they put their one fact, their one number on that Google form. They're using a shared Google Sheet that is view only. And then they each get one slide and they're going to create an infographic with 5 to 6 different numbers. So I'm going to pick my slide and then they have icons already off to the side of this because I don't have time to waste for them to find their own icons. My students are not very good at that. And so you can use that as a scaffold. Now, if you want your students to find their own icons, they could. There's Noun Project, there's Icon Mania, there's Flat Icons, there's a Google search. You can have them create infographics on Google Slides, Canva, Adobe Spark, Google Draw. Again, this is open. I prefer Google Slides just because I love Google Slides. But you can also do different like pro tips like remove BG, font colorings, and making sure that they look good together. So I kind of go over some design tips with my students because I love design and I think it's really important because in their world with advertisement, everything is like catching their eye. It's visual. It's making sure that the fonts do go together and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of research that, advertisements use to grab our attention. And so what they do is they just drag and then they add the different facts about whatever the topic is. Again, you can totally kind of customize this for your own students, and that is the long process. So this activity normally takes probably 20 to 30 minutes, just because they have to find their fact. And then once they find that fact, they then have to create their infographic. So again, about 6 minutes to find their fact. And then I like to give them 15 minutes to create, 15 to 20 minutes to create. Some students get really into the creating and they could spend hours and hours. But again, I like to set that timer because then they know, okay, I only have this amount of time to get this done. So this is what I'm thinking or visioning. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip these two parts. We are going to go to our one slide and we're going to create our infographic. And I want you to include 5 to 6 different facts about you. So go ahead and go to your slide and start to create. I'm going to set about we don't have too much time. I'm going to set about, let's do like a 3-minute timer, I think is what we're going to do. And so go ahead and start creating. Oh, you can only view, not edit. Thank you for letting me know.
Grammarly does more than catch errors.
I'm trying to get a timer so that way.
With Grammarly, you can
font you want. All right, let me go in. Oh, it looks like some people are editing. Lisa, I'm going to throw this link into the chat. Make sure, I know there's a lot of links, so make sure you're on this one. And we have about 19 seconds left, so add those finishing touches. Mine's not even close to done. I'm gonna struggle with that. All right, time is up. And then again, I would hit that present button right as soon as the timer ended. And then my students would quickly just go through. My students would just quickly go through their slides, tell me probably one fact instead of all of them. I would just say one fact. And then they would explain that one fact to me. I'm being that student that's still working, even though the timer is up. And then it's just kind of a fun way, again, for the students to explain their thoughts about maybe a certain topic, or to kind of go over what they're learning and talking about those different facts. And again, you can see how different every single student's looks. This one I really like. It's kind of, down and up. We've got just visuals here. This one, they've used it within the different shapes, text boxes. And again, every single students will look a little bit different, and that's what's fun about it. And you could, again, do like a think, pair, share type activity with your students and have them maybe write down like questions that they have or feedback for the student. And again, they get better every time you do this. And so here's just a quick example. So again, they read an article, they share their facts, and then they go. So here are just a few quick examples. There's their facts. And these were shared on Twitter. So you can kind of see every single student looks very different. Here's another example. And again, here's that template if you need some design tips for your students. And then right here is the books. If you've never heard of EduProtocols, I'm going to throw the website into the chat, but they are amazing. Make sure you get those books because they're really, really good. My favorite is book number 2. You do not have to read them in order. But if you are type A like me, you might want to read them in order. But again, you don't have to. It's more about strategies and ideas that you can use in the classroom. And if you follow along on Twitter, people are always sharing different templates and ideas. And if you ever need help, just reach out to me as well. I probably have a drive full of different examples and templates ready to go for you if you need that help. And then if you really enjoyed this session, feel free to join Gold EDU. This is kind of my LLC where I present a lot of my content and information. So feel free to join us on Gold EDU. I just threw our Google group. Our Google group, it has like email reminders, and then we do a lot of like make and take type sessions. So what that means is if you go to our YouTube channel, you are able to, you can go over here and you're able to see like make and take classroom sites.
Question.
So if you're a part of the
build
Google
a website
group, you get access to the material to create and then share. So it's all about sharing. Everything right here is free. So the teacher, like we created a Google site. There's my son, AJ. And then other people created a Google site towards the end of the session and they shared their websites. You can kind of see here, this was a Bitmoji site that somebody made. And so then you get ideas from other people. We also did one on Google Classroom headers. We have one coming up on different color palettes. We're going to make our own. We have one coming up again on newsletters. So it's just a fun way to kind of gather ideas from other educators and create and design your own templates that you can use in the school year. So feel free to join over there. And then finally, feel free to put any questions you had in the chat. But thank you so much for joining. I really enjoyed our time together and I hope you did as well. And again, reach out to me if you have any questions. I'll throw my Twitter handle back in the chat. That is probably honestly the best way to reach me. But feel free if you have questions right now to ask. We have like a couple minutes until the end of the session. So happy to answer anything. I'm going to throw the links to the slides as well in the chat, just in case anybody missed it. Or you exited out of the tab, but you're like, oh, I really wanted those. Right there is access to the slide deck. And again, everything's hyperlinked in there that I threw in the chat. So you shouldn't need the chat, but if you do for some reason, everything is in the slides as well. Thanks, guys.